Hello everyone, my name is Trung Mei, and I'm a senior year student from the American University of Phnom Penh. Throughout this video, we will be talking about the early life of Jan van Eyck. Then, we will also look into one of his spectacular art pieces called Arnolfini Portrait or Giovanni Arnolfini and his wife. So here's the picture of the painting, which I will elaborate more on its content after we talk about the early life of Jan van Eyck. The image on the screen is a self-portrait of Jan van Eyck. Similar to other well-known painters in the early days, there are not many self-portraits of Van Eyck that can be found. This image is from the National Gallery of United Kingdom. Without any further, let us talk about the early life of this talented painter. Van Eyck was a Netherlandish painter who mastered the newly introduced technique of oil painting during the 15th century. Well, the exact birth year of Van Eyck still remains uncertain, but some researchers have predicted that it was around 1395. Then, in October 1422, he was the honorary equerry and painter of the Hague for John of Bavaria, ruler of Holland. He continued to work at the Hague until the death of John of Bavaria in 1425. Then, that summer of 1425, he was summoned to Lille to serve Philip the Good, Duke of Burgundy, the most powerful ruler and foremost patron of the arts in Flanders, and Van Eyck remained as the Duke's employee until his death. Even before we understand the story behind the painting, we must all admit that this painting is one great art piece in terms of the techniques that were used. This artwork was an oil painting painted on an oak panel in 1434. Van Eyck uses both direct and indirect lighting. As you can see, the light from the window provides direct light into the scene, which is reflected on the shading of the oranges and the reflections on the chandelier. He was also very famous because of his illusionism in the painting. So let us understand the meaning behind this painting. So, you might have been wondering who are those two people in the painting. The man on the left-hand side of the painting is Giovanni Arnolfini, and the woman next to him was known to be his wife. Who was Arnolfini? Arnolfini was an Italian financier working in Bruges on behalf of the powerful Medici family of Florence. He was a prosperous man who was rich enough to hire an internationally famous artist like Van Eyck to paint this portrait of him and his wife. Now, there have been many beliefs toward the purpose of this painting. However, as stated in the Cultures and Value 8th edition, it may have been intended to document the exchange of marriage vows between the couple, or as scholars have recently suggested, represent the transference of legal rights from Arnolfini to his wife to act on his behalf during his absence. Surrounding the belief that the painting represents the exchange of marriage vows, there are also symbols in the painting to support this belief. So, what are the symbols that represent a wedding that is taking place? Now, I believe that despite the two main characters of the painting, I am sure most of you must have noticed the convex mirror in between Arnolfini and his wife. If you take a closer look into the mirror, you will see two other figures at the doorway and the reflection of the whole room. Scholars have believed that the figures with red clothing is Van Eyck himself. Now, Van Eyck also shows a sense of his presence in the scene by his signature above the mirror, in which he signs, "Van Eyck has been here" in Latin. If you also take a closer look at the chandelier, you will be able to see that there is only one candle that is lit up, and that is what believed to symbolize the continual presence of God in the room. Now, back in the 15th century, for a wedding to be considered legitimate, two witnesses were required to be there. With that being said, the characters in the mirror, the signature of Van Eyck's presence at the scene, as well as the presence of God, can perfectly explain that a wedding is taking place at the time of the painting. And additionally, you can also notice that there is a dog in between the feet of the couple. Dogs represent loyalty and fidelity, mean faithful. The purpose of this painting has been explained. Now let us look into the illusionism that Van Eyck used to show the wealth of this couple. Now first of all, take a look at both of their clothing. Back in those days, the more a woman dressed up with more layers of clothes, they were considered fashionable and wealthy. This also explains that the woman wasn't pregnant. Also, the fur worn by Arnolfini was an expensive luxury permitted by the law only to the upper level of the society. So Van Eyck's depict their wealth and status by having fur-trimmed clothes. And the couple also have matching gold and silver cuffs on their wrist. Those accessories were also expensive. If you also look at the left-hand side of the painting, you will notice that there are oranges next to the window. Oranges were fruits that were expensive, so by having them in the room indicates that the couple was rich enough to afford to buy them. At the same time, you can also notice on the floor that there was an oriental carpet. These carpets are very expensive. Even until today in the Netherlands, they are still expensive. If we also look back to the chandelier, we can see that the size is pretty large, and that also indicates that they were wealthy enough to afford the chandelier. To sum up, throughout this video, we have learned that this painting was painted to document the exchange of marriage vows of Arnolfini and his wife, with the use of different evidence, such as the figures in the mirror, signature of Van Eyck, and the presence of God. Also, Van Eyck used illusionism to demonstrate the wealth of Arnolfini and his wife, such as the clothing that they wore, the accessories on their hand, the existence of expensive products in the room like oranges, the carpet, and the size of the chandelier. Ultimately, we can definitely say that Van Eyck was one talented painter, and for art students, this painting is worth studying about. This is the end of my video. Feel free to drop a comment if you have any questions. Thank you.